Alright, today I'm working on the 63 Impala. I'm starting off with the fan belt situation. The customer had a fan belt that was a little bit too small, so I believe it was a 1785 millimeter fan belt. So I bought 3 different belts so I could get to the right one. So we got that done, and I think I ended up selecting a 795 or 1795 millimeter belt. I noticed that the speed density sensor was only in one bank of the twin filter setup that we're going to go show in a second. I also noticed that this wire is not connected. I don't know what that's for. So we're going to do a couple things before we actually try to fire it up and tune it. So let's go check out the filter. Alright, so this is the filter setup here. This is a twin filter setup. They had some Spectra filters on it. So this was the speed density sensor here, but it was only on one leg of it. That's not going to give you. It's only going to give you half the airflow. So I'm going to relocate this from one of the legs to the center, as close as I can to the inlet, which is going to be right here. But what I noticed when I pulled the filters off is there's a bunch of freaking metal in here. So I don't know what the hell is up with that. So we're going to need some new filters. You can see here. Maybe let's go look in the light. Not cool. So yeah, a lot of metal. I don't know what from. I mean, this filter is trash. You could basically see right through it. There's no filtering capability whatsoever. It's not even, yeah, this is a piece of crap. I mean, why you would put a filter like this on a motor like this is, or even a car for that matter, is beyond me. So we're not going to use those filters. This one is not as bad, but there's still some remnants of metal in there. Typically you want metal on the outside of your filter, not the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and step drill this, replace the grommet, put it here, put a plug here, and I'm not going to put the filters on. I'm just going to leave it open. Alright, so now I'm going to blow the tube off. I just drilled the hole for it. That's what the last shot should have done. So this pulley design is not favorable for a lot of friction between the pulley and the belt. There really needs to be an idler pulley right here to pull the belt underneath the power steering pump to wrap around the crank pulley a little bit more, at least by, I'd say, 60%. Right now we're only making maybe 25 to 30% contact. I don't know if this is going to work. It seems like something is missing. This side looks okay, but I just don't. It may squeak like hell when it starts. So I guess we'll just have to see. This is more than just a tuning issue. This is an issue of timing. So, if you look over here, you can see the distributor cap is basically smashed against the firewall. And the distributor cap is not touching the base of the distributor. That's a problem. What the hell? It looks like we're going to be winching the car on the lift because this thing is not going to start. That's why it's backfiring. The timing is off. Alright, today we're working on the 63 Impala. Let's see. Today's objective is to get the distributor cap off of the firewall. Right now, the cap is basically pressed against the firewall so hard that it's actually lifting it off its base. So I need to make a spacer for the transmission to pull it up. I think I can get it up about 5/8 of an inch. So this is what we're working with here. This this bar actually goes like this, and there's a bolt that goes through this tube, and then the transmission sits on this plate. So what we're going to do is actually make a spacer, and that is going to give us some distance, put the tranny against the tunnel a little bit closer, and actually create some clearance between the distributor cap and the actual firewall. So that's what we're doing today, or at least for now. And then I'll move to the top side and see if that gains any clearance. So this is the spacer that I made. It's just some aluminum T6 with a 3/8 hole. So we'll move this down here, slide this up. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to bore the hole a little bit bigger. There's some rubber around the stud. I need to get it up about right here. At least that's the objective, to see if that'll give us an extra distance. I'm gonna go put a counterbore in this real quick so it actually slides all the way up. Okay, I went ahead and machined a counterbore in the spacer. And now this is gonna go like this. That's gonna go up, and hopefully. Now naturally this plate is gonna flex a little bit, so I may have to raise it up a little bit more, depending on how much deflection's in this bar assembly, or it may be good. Who knows? We'll see. All right, so now let's lower it down. Not too much deflection. So now I'm going on the top side and see how much clearance that gave us. So I just shimmed the motor up about 5/8 of an inch, and it looks like we gained about at least a 1/2 inch of clearance between the cap and the firewall.
So that should be good then.
Can you see if you can wiggle the cap and see if it'll kind of snap in place?
Yeah.
Look at that. There you go. That's the way it's supposed to fit. Well, yeah, but it's still a little bit. It's a little on the close side.
Yeah.
But there's still some
wiggle room,
movement, right?
Yeah.
All right. So now I just need to verify number one's at top dead, and the wires aren't crossed. So we'll do that next. Okay, so first problem solved. And actually, this is more of a favorable angle than, what was it for? It was 4.5. It needs to be no more than 3. So, so it's actually better. So I went through the plug wires, and number 5 and number 7 were swapped, and number 2, it's open, so there's no resistance. So I don't know if the plug is defective, or so typically when there's a resistance, you hear that beep, and that just shows that there's enough resistance to complete a circuit. So the next here, I'm touching both leads, and there's nothing. So this is the same plug wire. So this wire goes from here, it's zip tied together with some roadkill zip ties, and then wire looms. That goes here. It's on the top rail. It goes across and back to here, and there's nothing. It's open. So car is not going to run like that. So I got to figure out why. So this is one end of it. Then on this side, let's see if I probe the wire at the very tip, it looks like it's really skinny right here, so I don't know why that is. Let's see here. Still open. There's nothing here. So I'm going to probe it deeper in the wire. Maybe I'll probe it here to see if it makes contact. Nothing. Well, you know, it looks like, Andrew, is here. They didn't even, there's no extension in the wire.
What do you mean?
The inner core?
Oh, it's not touching?
No. So typically when you pull the wire out, there's a, they're supposed to wrap this around the outside and then crimp it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one was just open. Where it was just sitting in the barrel. But it wasn't touching. I don't know if that's the reason, but I'm going to take this one apart as well. Let's see if I can't. The WD-40 is there so I can try and preserve the terminal so it doesn't come apart when I twist it. I might need help on this, Andrew. Get a close up. Nothing. No ohms of resistance. There we go. So when I touch the wire directly, there's resistance, but I don't think they wrap the wire around the terminal. Can you take a closer look at this?
Yeah.
Is that thing just sticking out like just proud, or is it me?
No, it's not touching anything.
It's not touching anything, right? All right, so I'm gonna zoom this in. Can you see that or no?
Yeah, it's not touching anything.
So the wire is not touching anything. That's why there's no connection. In addition to the fact that they had 5 and 7 swapped. But they did one thing wrong as well.
Dielectric grease.
They put dielectric grease right on the terminal. It's not supposed to go on the terminal. You're supposed to put dielectric grease on the boot. Dielectric grease is designed to prohibit the flow of electrons across the surface, right? And that's not what we want. But what a piece of crap, dude. What the frick? So I'm gonna.
It's supposed to wrap around the backside where your
So I'm gonna hold this real quick.
fingers.
I'm going to see if I could pull this apart. Actually, it is touching, but it's not making a good contact. Is it broken? It's broken. The connection's broken. That's why. These plug wires are trash, dude. What the hell? Do you think we have any more of these terminals?
Yeah, possibly.
Let's see if I can make up another set. I would hate to replace all the wires just for one stupid mistake. All right, so I'm gonna re-crimp these wires. I just cut the insulation off. Now I'm gonna crimp it with the MSD crimper. Alrighty. Then I'll put the boot back on. Let's see if I can get this on without destroying the boot. Let's see here. Then I'll retest it once I crimp this side. Wrap it around the back side, slide the terminal in, turn this around. Crimped it in like that. Go grab the other boot, slide it in, just like so. Okay. Now it's time to test it. Make sure that there's continuity. Okay. So that goes like that. Now we're good. Okay. Now we have a connection. Okay. Now, I don't know if it's timed properly, but it should fire if it's not way off. Any bets on when how to fire?
I don't know if I can do that.
Alright, so I'm going to attempt to fire it. I want to see if it'll kick back or if there's a deeper problem. He says he thinks it's a roller camshaft. But we'll see. The battery still might be charged, but we'll see. Still kicking back like that. I'm going to check the base timing, make sure it's at top dead center. I think it is, but let me just make sure. Before it would kick back and it was a lot harder. So I don't know. That starter may not. It may be two things that two different scenarios. All right, so I have the cap off, and I can see where the cap wasn't riding on the distributor properly. So there's a bunch of wear on where the coil goes. I'm going to inspect the rotor to make sure that's in decent shape. I checked to make sure at 12 degrees before top dead center, the distributor was not 180 degrees out. It wasn't, but the pickup for the magnetic assembly is right on one of the gates, and it needs to be in between the gates. So I need to adjust the distributor so that it's in between the open area on the reluctor wheel. But now I'm going to pull the rotor off real quick and see what kind of shape that's in. So if this looks pretty bad, then I don't know what the rotor looks like. I guess it's okay. It just looks like it's kind of scored up a little bit. So that's the rotor. Here. You can see it's riding right here on the side of the cap. And it actually broke off the end of it. So it's not good. So yeah, it's kind of beat up a little bit. The actual electrode seems to be okay. But yeah, that broke off. So I'm gonna pick it up a little bit. Make sure it still has some spring to it, and then put it back together. This actually might be an MSD cap. So let's see here. So that's the locking mechanism there. So if these are in the right orientation, which they are, then I can actually mock up this cap to see that, to make sure that the rotor is pointed directly to one of the terminals. And that's why I milled this one out. It's like basically my checking cap.
All right, what do we have here?
So we went over the distributor. So 5 and 7 were swapped. That's why I was backfiring through the intake, and you can see the carbon on the butterfly. Mm-hmm. That kind of is a telltale sign that either it's the distributor is 180 out, or the plugs are 1 or 2 plugs are swapped, or I guess 2 or 4 are swapped over. So because the engines really never run, I want to see what style camshaft, because these cylinder heads are the Edelbrock E Street Performance, and they specify a flat tappet. And you know me, I don't like running flat tappet cams, especially with today's oils and shit. They suck. So, especially with the big block Chevy. So I'm worried that this is a flat tappet. Jose thinks that it's a roller, but I need to know for sure. because I don't want to take a chance on trying to have this thing fucking self-destruct, self-grenade. So I'm gonna run the snap-on scope down here and see what style of cam is in it. Yep. Good old flat tap it.
How can you tell it's a flat tap?
There's no link bar on the top.
Oh yeah.
There's no link bar.
Yeah, because they're supposed to spin.
Yep. So, and just to. Oops. This head is really small, but sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate. Dang it. Let's see here. Yeah, so turn the light up a little bit.
Oh, that's a cam.
Yep. That's the cam. It's a good old-fashioned hydraulic flat tap it. Well, at least we know what it is. So we'll get it running, but I'm not going to run it for long.
Yeah.
I just feel that this is gonna. My luck. I don't know. It ain't worth it.
Yeah.
And not that it'll be faster without it.
Mm-hmm.
Or with a roller. So, but I just had to know.
And you weren't wrong.
I just had a feeling. I don't know what. It is.
Was it because of heads?
Well, what made me start looking into it was the fact that the part number on the heads. I was like, wait a minute, those heads come with 130-pound springs on the seat.
Yeah.
130 on the seat that's a small block status.
Yeah.
Right. So, small block is more like 110. So these are like probably 290 open and 130 on the seat. So I verified the seat pressure, and it is about 135, 140. So this is a flat tapped spring. So if we were to convert it to roller, we would need springs, push rods, camshaft, lifters. Yeah, that means the intake has to come off. All its accessories have to come off. Water pump, fans, grill, everything.
Yeah.
And then you got to drop the pan 1/4 inch. So when I pulled the spark plug out of the number 1 cylinder, I also noticed that.
This is the number 2, though.
So I know this is number 2, but I was checking the timing on the head, or not the head, but the
spark plug.
Spark plug. No, I was checking the timing between the distributor and the piston, the relationship between the two, and I noticed I put the plug out and it was a non-projected core plug. And
what does that mean?
It means the porcelain and the ground strap are actually extended into the combustion chamber. This style plug is super. I don't know how cold it is because I can't see the bottom of it. But this is the wrong plug. The reach is right as far as the thread, 14 mil, but it's what do you call it? It's supposed to be projected. It's a pretty cool plug. Let's see how black that shit is.
Mm-hmm.
Like this thing is never going to run. So it's a champion, is what Edelbrock calls for. So it's an R12 or so RCYC, RC12YC is what it is, and it's a Autolite 3924 is a cross reference. That's what this is.
Oh, okay.
3924. But this plug here, you'll see the difference. So this is a platinum.
Turn. Oh yeah.
So that's a projected core plug. So this is designed to extend into the combustion chamber.
Yeah.
For better lighting off of the fuel.
This
the
one's
chances
way
of this coming between a gas and air molecule and striking it in between the electrode is actually a lot higher with this than it is this. Now, if you had nitrous, you'd run these.
Cold, yeah.
This does not run. We're not running nitrous, so
No.
we're going to run this.
Yeah.
This would need to here because these projected core plugs are supposed to stay clean, and they're extended into the combustion chamber. But yeah, so and this, if you look at the heat range between the two, you see how far that one goes down,
Oh yeah.
and see how close that one is. So that's a really cold plug.
Yeah.
So This thing was never going to run. I mean, it was seriously never going to run. So that's what we got so far. We talked about the distributor cap wasn't seated properly, and the cap was rubbing against the firewall. Now it's not. It's timed where it's supposed to be. So now I got to change all the plugs, put the valve cover back on, see if I can get to fire, and then from there I'll need to go into the software and do a baseline tune. But that's kind of where we are.
I mean, you switched the plug wires and you fixed that one
Yeah.
on number 2 cylinder.
Mhm.
Was there any other bad ones?
No.
Okay.
Just 5 and 7 swapped. Number 2 wasn't connected, and the timing on the distributor was off a little tiny bit.
Oh, okay.
So,
What about the starter?
oh, the starter. This is the starter that came out of it. So this is a, it seems okay, but it's a really light duty starter. But this is all you need to know.
Made in China.
Made in China. This is no place on the old school.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we swapped it out for a Power Master, which is our go-to.
A good one.
It works really, really well. The problem I had with this nose is it didn't see the pattern. So it basically it wasn't even engaging the flywheel all the way. You want to get at least 90% engagement. At least I do.
It's hard to see with the light on it. Oh, there you go. Yeah. You see the wear pattern?
Yeah. So it wasn't engaging like I would like. Well, I found another problem. This dipstick tube is not fully seated into the pan. See there? The O-rings are not even there. I tried to fully seat it, but it looks like it's not compatible. It looks like the bore of that adapter is too small. Yeah, check this out. This was screwed into the pan, and then this was supposed to go in like this. Look at that.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
The O-rings are up here. What the hell?
That's crazy.
You gotta be kidding me, dude.
Wow.
What the frick? Look. Didn't even fit. It's supposed to drop right in and sit about right there. I don't know if they galled it up or what. You can kind of see there's a little area that's kind of chafed a little bit. But yeah, so that's the hell, dude. That's not gonna work. Okay, so that fits like that. So now I have to find 2 O-rings to go on this. Just for the record, if the car would have been run with this assembly like this, it would have spewed oil all over the car and coated the exhaust and the brand new paint job, and it would have made a huge mess, and it could have ran the motor low on oil. So this is not a good idea. I'm gonna put a small chamfer on that. This will ease with the transition. That's how it's supposed to fit. Just like that. Nice engagement. Nice seal. Alright, now let's go install it. Alright, so that's fully seated. That is how it's supposed to look. That's why they zip tied it, because it didn't fully seat. So now we know. Alright, so now we have the dipstick tube fixed. All the plugs are in. Timing, all the stuff we said earlier. I don't know how it's going to run, but let's see. So I'm going to bring it up. Hopefully it runs, everything fires well. I'll bring it up to 2500 and then let it sit there for a minute. It's a vibrates like a motherfucker. I mean, it's just a lowrider, so it doesn't work. So we ran the motor. It seems to run pretty good, right, Andrew?
Yeah, it runs great.
Pretty responsive.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Just needs a little bit of tune.
A little bit of tune, but we found a problem. So I noticed that the car vibrated pretty good. And I looked at the flywheel. I looked at the balancer first, and what I'm looking for is a counterweight. And I don't see one in the front, which is good because it's a 427. 427 is basically a 454 with a 396 crank. And 396s don't have, those are internal balance. This here is a flywheel for a 454. It's a counterbalance flywheel. These are supposed to be neutral balanced. That's why this mother vibrates when I rev it up. And that kind of sucks. Yeah, so that's the weight right there. If you don't know if you can see that or not. Right up here. Let's see if I can get it better on this side. Yeah. So kind of see there's a little cutout and there's a weight up there. That's not supposed to be there. So that's what our weight is. That's what our vibration is. So that means the transmission needs to be backed off about 8 inches. And then we have to pull the flywheel and get a new one. One that's neutral balanced. Or, you know, I wonder if I might be able to actually take it off in the car and grind off the welds. Maybe I'll try that. We'll see. Okay, well, that's the problem.